I'm Tanya Hitchman, Director of Community Programs with ALS Texas. And I know for the majority of you that I at least can see, I have met you either on another of our presentations or workshops, or we've emailed, so it's great to see you today. We are excited to have two different organizations that we see in our community and that support our ALS community with augmentative and alternative communication equipment to help those living with ALS still be able to communicate and to talk, right? Because talk is different for everybody, and I'm sure that they will talk about that as well. But welcome, we will get started. And I'd like to, can I do a little bit of housekeeping? I think most of us are probably familiar with the Zoom platform by now, right? It's become kind of our new norm, almost instantaneously. But for this workshop, it would probably be best for you to be on active speaker view on your laptop. If you're on a mobile device, I think it automatically does that for you. But we will be having a slide presentation, so if you choose the active speaker view, that will allow you to see more of the presentation. If you just want to see everybody else that's on the call, you can do that too by choosing the grid view that you have in the gallery, all right? Does that work for everyone? And of course, we have the chat box where you can type your questions or comments. We'll be keeping track of those, and when we have the Q&A time, parts of each of the presentations. So the way that this format works is each of our community partners will have about 20 minutes to present, and then we'll allow about 10 minutes for there to be some comments, questions, and answers before the next. So be sure and write those comments and questions and feedback in the chat box, and we will get to those. And feel free to react along the way. You've got the reaction buttons on your screen with the smiley face emoji. You can thumbs up, clap. You can celebrate if there's something that you hear. There may be something you hear today that you didn't know existed. And that's also our hope, that you're informed about new things to help in the ALS experience. So if there aren't any questions or comments right now in the chat box, we will get started, and we will start off with PRC. And I know that we have Betty Carter and Amanda Moreno today with us, and they will start off talking about some of the equipment and their approach to serving our ALS community. And ladies, thank you both for joining us. We sure do appreciate you.
Oh, we're happy to be here. Hopefully I'm unmuted. Hopefully everyone can hear. All right, excellent. Okay, so I just put together kind of a small slideshow on just to kind of, you know, especially with a virtual platform, can't just show the equipment or have it out here to touch and see. So this is how we're approaching it. But so we're going to talk about, you know, AAC options for adults, of course. That's why we're here, specifically the ALS population. So let's talk about our options. You could go ahead and advance the slide, sorry. So let me talk about who I am. I apologize, I didn't put one in for Amanda, but she's introduced at the end, but I'm sure she'll be happy to pop in and say hello in a minute. So my name is Betty Carter. I'm also a speech language pathologist. I work for PRC Saltillo, specifically the PRC brand of our products. That's the brand, that's the side of our products that has more of the adult population vocabularies. I am a salaried employee. I don't get commission on any device that is sold. So, you know, we're here to serve and help in a therapeutic manner. Specifically the way I approach things in my territory, and Amanda can speak to how she does it in her territory. She's in the Houston area. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I cover from the Panhandle all the way to Texarkana. So that's my territory. And I specifically focus on a more therapeutic form of getting, you know, patients set up with their devices, especially when it comes to ALS. I have things kind of set up in multiple visits so that we can kind of work through scenarios and get you started, because a lot of it's really overwhelming, not gonna lie, and I'm sure you guys can understand and feel that way. Okay, go ahead and advance the slide. All right, so just to talk about our high-tech options, I'll just dive right in. So we have 3 different tablet-style devices that I'm specifically talking about that are our dedicated devices and that would have the adult vocabulary options on them. The Accent 1400 is actually a 14-inch tablet-style device. It can be used with touch access, eye gaze access, head pointing access, which we'll get to in a minute. The Accent 1000, which is the middle one, is a 10-inch screen tablet style. It can also be used with head pointing and eye gaze touch access. And then the Accent 800, the one on the right side, is specifically more of a touch access device. It can't be utilized for eye gaze. It's a smaller device, so it's very portable, but it would definitely be specifically for someone who is utilizing a touch, using touch access as an access method. Okay, you could advance that. Thanks, Steve. Okay, so go ahead, do one more, sorry. All right, so access methods that we can discuss, if that is something that you are needing at this time, would be simply touching with your fingers. You can use a key guard, a touch guide. That can also be helpful for those fine motor difficulties as well. Go ahead and advance. Thanks, Steve. We have switch scanning, if that's even an option. I won't really touch a whole lot on that, but if that's something that you're needing or looking at. Great joystick control is awesome as well. That can be used on any of our devices. And for those of you who are utilizing a power wheelchair, that joystick can be paired with the device for you to be able to utilize it as a mouse. That's an alternate access method as well. Okay, go ahead. New Point, which is the head tracking device that's located at the top. You guys can see that on the picture to the right. That would be utilized if, if eye gaze isn't something you're looking at, but you wanted a head and neck control device. I'll show a video of that in a second. Go ahead. And then the look eye tracking, you'll see a picture of that in just a second. The eye gaze module would be located at the bottom of the device. Go ahead and advance. And that's where that is. So you can see at the very bottom of that device there that's the head tracking or the eye tracking module. All right, continue. Thank you. So New Point, most people aren't super familiar with it, so I just wanted to show it. It may not be something that's even a possibility, something that may not fit your needs, but I want, anybody else who's on the call or the meeting who wants to look at alternate access to be aware of what it is. It is a reflective dot that you put on glasses or your, someplace on your head or, even your finger. And that module at the top of the device reflects that dot, and it's basically like mouse control, if you will. So as you're moving your finger or your head, you would also control the pointer. Go ahead and advance. Yep, that's where it is. Go ahead and advance. Thank you. So here's a video on it if you'd like to see what it looks like for those of you who aren't familiar. Go ahead. I don't think the sound is working, but that's okay, don't worry. Usually you have to plug in external speakers. So it may have been difficult to see. But yeah, so he's actually got, I don't know if you can see it as he turns, you might see it, there we go. So he's utilizing his head to control a cursor on the screen. Yeah, so you can see that little reflective dot kind of between his eyebrows there. So that's what that looks like. Again, I won't spend a ton of time, but just want you to know it's an alternate access. Our look module is our eye tracking module. It's located at the bottom of the device. And that kind of concludes talking about access methods that would be appropriate for you. All right, continue. All right, let's talk about some device configurations. We have a couple of different device configurations that would fit the adult population. This particular one is called Word Power, and it's basically a word-based system that's predictive in nature. So it's set up in such a way that you have your keyboard along with some predictive words. So if you were to start a sentence, say, for example, if you were to hit I, the words like in the middle, like the green words and blue words would change to be predictive of what might come next when you type the word I. So it's definitely, this is showing 144 icons on a screen. That's a lot, but there's less than that on the screen as far as configurations are concerned. So you could do 144, you could do 84, 60, 45, and a little bit 36, I believe. So there are several options there, but just to get a good picture of it, we have the 144 icons showing. Go ahead and continue. This next configuration is a very popular configuration among my patients who have ALS. It is called Essence. And so this basically is utilized. You can use it with touch access along with or eye gaze, either way, but it basically allows for complete control of the internal computer system. So you would be able to access some quick messages. What is the operating system? Great question. It's a Windows-based system. So thank you for asking that, Laura. All right, so it is a Windows tablet. All of our, those devices that I discussed in these software systems are Windows-based. All right, so it allows for easy access and control of being able to connect your phone for texting and or calling. It allows for a keyboard for you to be able to conduct novel messages and type the way you would like to type. There's also a quick messages option that allows for some pre-programmed phrases that you might say frequently or want to add. There are internal computer controls that would allow you to get onto Facebook and YouTube and your email and all of those fun things. Amazon, I'm trying to think of all the things I typically set up, Google, all of your things like that. External computer control would allow, if you were to connect this computer to an external computer, the eye gaze module would work as a mouse emulator to control your computer that is connected to. It doesn't have to be wired, it can be wireless as long as there is a dongle that's attached to allow for a Bluetooth connection. Remotes, we have the IR control that allows you to be able to control your TV, your DVD, things of that nature. Other accessories might be, we have some Alexa pages built in so that you can control your Alexa if you're preferring that system. You could do Google Home if you have that kind of set up in your environment. I can't think if I'm forgetting something. Amanda, you are welcome to jump in if I'm forgetting a specific accessory. All right, go ahead, advance, sorry. All right, additional key features, voice banking capabilities. It allows for, if you have done voice banking in the past, that can be configured into our device. We do have a notebooks for writing. This is what helps me stay on task. We have notebooks for writing. That's an additional feature that allows you to conduct a message. If you're going to go to the doctor, or maybe you're going to have a Zoom call with somebody, you don't want to have to type your message out all at once or during that call. You can create different messages that are pre-recorded, and then you can actually utilize those messages at a later date. So that makes it nice if you have an appointment coming up, that you have some questions, you want to be able to type out those messages before the appointment. Accessible controls for the internal computer, web browsing, your email, Skype, Facebook, YouTube, Kindle. Go ahead and continue, Steve, sorry. Using the device as a keyboard and a mouse for another computer. That's that external computer access that I discussed a minute ago. Using for IR remote control for a TV, etc. And then of course, connecting via Bluetooth to a cell phone, a smartphone for voice control for sure. Texting if it's an approved phone device, of course. So, and having said that, our devices don't allow for texting with Apple, but for an iPhone, but definitely Android for sure. All right, continue. Oh, sorry. Oh yes, there's calculator feature, and you can add music on there and add reminders if using the reminders feature on the device. Go ahead and continue, sorry. All right, so what is Essence? It is, sorry, I'm gonna move my controls here. So it's an AAC language system for the accent line of products that is specifically designed for literate adults who prefer a speech generating device based primarily on spelling, so text access. It's easy to use, easy to learn. It provides robust spoken and written communication, which allows individuals to share their thoughts, feelings, wants, and needs, of course. One thing that I do like to point out, and we have to go back a slide, but don't worry about it, is that it does allow, if you are using eye gaze as an access, it allows for quick pausing that's on every page of that particular vocabulary system. So it allows you to quickly pause and unpause as needed. It also has a alarm feature built in every page, so that if you go to that alarm, if you need to get somebody's attention from another room, that can be accessed on every page of the software. All right, continue. And sorry, yeah, you can see them right here. So the rest would be the green here on that top right. That's the pause and unpause. And then the alarm is the other accessible feature from every page. Okay. It can be used with any access method. It's specifically designed for the new point or the look module, specifically to give, you know, those larger icons or a nice big target for those of you who would be utilizing an eye gaze, you know, eye gaze as an access method or head pointing to allow for accuracy. All right, continue. Okay, we have several versions of the vocabulary, kind of going back to when I was talking about word power, how I showed you the 144 keys. So Essence has an option for 36, 60, and 84. They all have spelling and word prediction, both device vocabularies. It has, you know, of course, word prediction. It does have core vocabulary that's built in to allow for quick communication across context. That would be the word power option. Abbreviation expansion, quick messages, conversation starters, and notebooks feature. That's the feature I discussed a minute ago where you can pre-record things to use at a later date. All right, go ahead and advance. What is word power? It's a language system written by Nancy Inman. And then she's given us permissions to use her to access that, you know, that's specifically built for our devices. So word power and picture word power for accent are sophisticated vocabularies that have been designed to make speech generation easy and natural. And that's the vocabulary system I showed initially that has the more predictive text options. All right, go ahead and continue. It can be used with any access method. I typically have individuals who are using touch access that access word power, and then a lot of my my users, my AAC device users that are using head pointing or eye tracking prefer the Essence vocabulary typically because of the larger targets. All right, continue. Sorry, I missed that. Go ahead and continue. I didn't realize that was duplicated. All right, so funding. This is something that I really wanted to talk about because it's really important. Something that I discuss with a lot of my evaluators, and they feel that this is a very important key to when you do get a diagnosis where you know you're going to need a speech generating device. I can't stress enough to go ahead and start that funding process early. These funding sources take a long time to approve. Sorry, somebody was asking if someone has head control, do you find head pointing to be easier than eye gaze? You know, that's a great question. Let me answer. What I would say is something that's important about the head tracking, or the head pointing, the new point device, it requires a lot of head and neck control. So if that is a weak spot or you don't have great control in that area, I would probably look more at eye gaze as an option, because eye gaze, typically you only need to move your eyeballs. So if head and neck control is not a strong suit of your patient or you, then I would recommend looking at that eye gaze option. So that's kind of the clinical aspect of that. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, so the devices can be funded, all, you know, durable medical equipment devices. Yeah, okay, I'm getting to that. Thank you, Pete. Okay, so devices can be funded by Medicare, private insurance, and STAP. So STAP can be an issue. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but please seek your funding as soon as you do get a diagnosis, or you know, you're as soon as you're ready, hopefully earlier than later, because it can take a while and you want to make sure that device is available for you when you do actually need it and not have to wait 2-3 months on a funding source. So let me kind of back up and talk a little bit about Medicare. So Medicare actually doesn't require a trial. They will actually fund a device. They will approve a device immediately. However, they will only pay 80% of that durable medical equipment. So you would need to have a supplement, or, you know, a private insurance as a supplement to help fund that 20% copay. Now, if you have an ALS diagnosis and you only have Medicare and you don't have a private insurance supplement, something that you can look into is going through Team Gleason to get a copay covered. So they have a whole different process. where you would apply for that copay assistance. It's very simple to do. It does take a little bit of time, again, going along with that whole funding taking time thing, but it is an option for you if you are going to use Medicare and you don't have a private insurance or you don't have a supplement. The caveat to using Medicare, though, is that you have to be residing in your home, in a private residence. If you are a resident of a long-term care facility, then they will not cover a device. So that would not be an option. You would not want to go through that funding source. STAP, however, is a telecommunications grant through the state of Texas that will allow individuals to get speech generating devices that would allow them to have use of the telephone system. So it's specifically geared for telephone use. Having issues getting funding by STAP, it's typically, they require that you have a speech impairment and a cognitive impairment, or a speech impairment and an upper mobility impairment. So those are very important aspects of getting that STAP approved. I can't get Medicare due to being a homemaker. How do I get funding? That's a great question. So Jerry, I hope I'm saying your name right. I don't know where you live, but you definitely should reach out to either your consultant in the area or your speech language pathologist. If you live in Texas, you are eligible for that STAP grant that would cover a device for you if you don't have Medicare. So that would be that alternate access, that alternate funding source that I was referring to a minute ago. STAP has nothing to do with your insurance. It is strictly a grant through the state of Texas. And the only thing that's required is that you are a state of Texas resident. So that's the only stipulation. And I assume that everyone who is on the ALS Texas, meeting today is a Texas resident. So that would allow you to qualify for that type of funding. All right, so I actually spoke with one of my evaluators this morning for a different reason, and I told her that I was going to be meeting with you all, and she really did ask that I pass her information. She's able to do Zoom calls with anyone in the state. That's been a great thing that's come out of COVID, allowing these evaluators to be able to access and do evaluations for multiple people across the state. Anyway, her name is Judica Mehta. I put her information on there just so you guys would have it. She works with Texas Women's University, and she's a great assistant to us. We actually had I worked with her at the MDA clinic when it was up and running. And so she's a great resource to help get funding. All right, go ahead and advance, sorry. Okay, so regional consultants, this is just to let you know that there's 3 of us that work for the PRC brand of PRC Saltillo, but there's 3 of us in the state that would be willing to help you. So chances are, no matter where you live in Texas, there is someone there to help you to help you get this funding, help walk you through things, help get you in an evaluator if you have any questions. We are able to do demonstrations, via Zoom or in person, depending on your situation. We do equipment loans. We help with the funding process. Again, all of us are salary based, and we're all willing to help. Go ahead and advance. And then the Texas consultant specifically, since we're talking about the ALS Texas Association, I'm Betty Carter, so I handled the North Texas side plus the Panhandle. Amanda Moreno. Amanda, I don't know if you were able to unmute, were you? Hopefully. Yeah, I can actually I'll put her, I can actually chat her after I'm done with the presentation. Pete, I'm
unmuted now, sorry.
Perfect, no, you're fine. Go ahead, Amanda.
I don't know, I was just gonna say hi, and then I got unmuted.
Oh, perfect. Yes, so Amanda, can you tell everybody where you serve?
So I'm the Houston area, surrounding Houston area, so a lot of the East Texas. I kind of really don't know exactly where I end up. Out to Louisiana, I get really close to Dallas, so kind of pick up all the other area outside of Tracy.
Yes, and then Tracy Custer is Amanda, do you cover College Station?
I do.
Yes, so Amanda is your girl, Jerry. Oh, another thing I was going to let you all know is that if you are interested in PRC or you want to look at our products, if you go to our website, and you'll see that at the last slide, but it's www. I don't know why I just said www. Anyway, everybody knows that. Printrom.com. At the very bottom, if you scroll down, if you type in your zip code, no matter where you are, it could be a little tiny Texas town, your consultant will pop up. So that's an important thing to know. If you're not sure, or if you're an evaluator and you're not sure where we cover, just type in the zip code that you're serving, and one of us will pop up and you'll know who your consultant is. Tracy Custer, who couldn't be with us today, she had another engagement. She serves the San Antonio, Austin area, all that southwest Texas, the Valley, and then El Paso. So we all kind of meet somewhere in the middle, but that's where we are. All right. So questions and resources, please. Please feel free to email any of us anytime. We're happy to help. And then go into our website can help you with finding your consultant. We also have training and then information on our devices. Go ahead and continue. I don't know what's at the end. Yeah. All right. For questions, you're welcome to email me. If you're not sure and you need, for example, I think you needed Dr. Mehta's information. Somebody had asked, I think Pete maybe. I'm going to go ahead and chat that in just a second, but you're welcome to email me. Even if you're not sure who your consultant is or you have other questions, I'll direct you to the right area. So please feel free to write down my information, and I'm happy to pass you on to whoever can help you if it's not me. So. All right. I guess with that, I'll open it up for questions. If you have questions for Amanda, feel free to ask. If you have questions for me, feel free to ask. Let me chat that information. Who has Austin? Tracy has Austin. Yeah. Okay. Let me go through these chat questions. Sorry, because I know some people may not be meeting. Okay. Okay. Answered the Medicare question. STAP would be the answer for you, Jerry. I think you said you can't get Medicare. But STAP, it would be a good option for you for funding. I'll put Dr. Mehta's information up in just 1 second. Amanda covers College Station, yes. What about accessories to attach to a wheelchair? Thank you, Laura, for asking that. I did not mention it, and I should have. But yes, we actually use Readapt mounts as our in-house mount solution. We can bundle any mount that you want if you don't want to use Readapt, but we do help with that. So if you're getting an eye gaze device, your options obviously are going to be a wheelchair mount, a floor stand, or a table stand, and we can help you with any of those options if that's depending on what your needs are. Let's see here. We talked about accessories to attach to a wheelchair. Who has Austin? I answered that. That's Tracy. How much does the system cost? That's an excellent question, but you're going to be looking at from anywhere from a touch access device with no eye gaze could be anywhere from $5,000 to $16,000. That's not even including mounts. So please don't quote me, but that's going to be your ballpark. Again, these are durable medical equipment devices funded by insurance, and then that's who definitely sets the cost of that equipment. I do participate in the MDA device clinics when they were happening. Right now they're not, at least in the Dallas area, and unfortunately a lot of the MDA people in Texas were furloughed, so we don't know when that's going to start up again. But right now, Pete, to answer your question, Dr. Mehta is doing a lot of Zoom evaluations because of that. We know that there's a need, so you can get an evaluation if needed. So I'll put her information back up there. If you put funding together, is there a wait for equipment? That's an excellent question. So once when you're waiting for equipment because of your funding, I mean, there's going to be a wait. So if you're going through STAP, that could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months to get your STAP voucher back. It's taking typically about 2 months. If you're going through Medicare, they approve immediately, and most of your supplements will approve within a few weeks. So that there's not a whole lot of waiting on that end. Sometimes there's a wait to borrow equipment if you're wanting to borrow. We do our best to really put ALS patients at the front of the line. So typically what we'll do is, you have a need and you want to borrow some equipment, let one of us know, and we will do our best to get you something quickly to borrow, because we understand that that's a critical part of this. If you haven't started this process yet, where do you start? Contact a consultant in your area. You could start by contacting a consultant in your area, but you really need an SLP. So I'm glad you asked that question, Dutch, because One thing that's really important about speech generating devices is you have to have a speech language pathologist write your report. So I would say contact your doctor, your primary, your physician who's helping you, and get connected with a speech pathologist for sure, so that you can get that process started immediately. Ongoing maintenance, updating Windows, excellent question. So some fun fact about PRC, we follow the device for the life of the device. We don't care how long you have it. Other fun fact is that even if it gets donated to another client, we follow the device and we will still provide support to that individual, even though they didn't purchase the device they didn't specifically purchase the device. It is our mission to make sure everybody has a voice, and we pride ourselves on that. So, so as far as like ongoing maintenance, we hope you don't have any issues with the device, but if you do, we do have a tech support option. I usually have my patients contact me first, just in case it's a quick fix and they don't have to wait 30 minutes on tech support. But we have remote, our tech support has remote access in to be able to help assist you if you're needing help with your device. Updates on software happen, I would say maybe a couple times a year. So, and you get an alert through that, you'll turn on your device. It'll say, as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi, your device will say, oh, an update available. Would you like to update? You can do that. I hope that answered your question. So, but we do have a great tech support service. And that's it. Those are the questions so far. I don't know if anyone else had others. Okay. All right. And I think that's all for me. Amanda, do you have anything to add that I may have left off? I didn't mention.
No, I think you covered pretty much all of it.
Sorry, sometimes you get sidetracked and you forget to include things. But I'm so glad that you were here today. Sorry, Tracy couldn't be here, but it's good to put faces with names so you all know that we're here to help anytime. So, okay, I think I'm right at 1:35, so that's probably perfect timing to transition to the next group. If there aren't any additional questions, I'll still be looking at the chat. So if you have a quick question to me, go ahead. I'm going to hop off at 2 p.m. because I have another meeting, but I will answer questions that if you want, you're welcome to private message me. That's fine. And I'll put Dr. Mehta's information. Oh, thank you, Amanda. You put yours on there. And I will put mine up there too. And I will find Dr. Mehta's information and chat that in, but I will relinquish control to the next person. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Hi there. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started. So you can go to the next slide. We're Improvability. Just a bit of introduction for myself. My name is Antoinette Verdone. I am the founder of Improvability. My background is in engineering. We are the Smartbox partner for the state of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I can't believe I can say that, but it's true. My first job out of college, I worked for the state of Mississippi for their Department of Vocational Rehab. And then I actually worked for the ALS Association in New York City. And that's where I kind of got my passion for working with people with ALS. And then it's 10 years now, I moved to Austin. I say 4 years was my limit in New York City. I was there for 5.5 just because I like my job so much, but I was ready to kind of move back to the normal world. Started Improvability about 10 years ago. And, I've been saying this for 20 years. If you can think it's out there, that's really our kind of our motto. There's just so many solutions out there, and we really pride ourselves on being up on the latest technology. So I'll let Jimmy introduce himself and then we'll get into the presentation.
Hi there. My name is Jimmy Hudson. I am based out of Austin. I've been doing AAC for 11 years now, since 2009. A big part of my business has been focused on AAC for the ALS community and working with the ALS Association, supporting devices that I was involved in the sales process for and devices that I wasn't. I've always just believed that no matter what, we've got to support the people that need these devices so that they can use them to the best of their ability. And and I've been with Improvability now for about a year and a half, and basically spend every day driving all over Texas trying to support people that use our devices.
Okay, next slide. So here's just, this is our full team at the moment. We do have a contractor in the Dallas area that's not pictured here. So all of these people are based in Austin except for Lena. She's in Houston. Again, putting those faces with the names, you probably, if you work with us, you'll probably interact with most of these people. So most of our team, all of our team that is out seeing clients are very cross-trained. So we are literally crisscrossing the state every day. And if there's a problem that comes up, one of us will be in the area at some point. So we really try to do our best to, to get people at their point of need as quickly as possible. Next slide. So what makes us a little bit different than kind of just a AAC company is that we do try to stay on the cutting edge. We really take a practical approach. We implement what we're recommending, so we know that it's going to work. When we get outside the AAC stuff, if you're talking about environmental controls, I have a lot of those things at my house. We just got a new office space, so we're going to be putting a lot of that in our office space so we can really live with it. So just like with any technology, when you live with it, you know it better than if you just say, oh yeah, the list of features say that that's going to work. And we also, again, me and Jimmy both kind of have this problem where we can't leave well enough alone. So we will really try to combine the products that, even if they're coming from multiple manufacturers, that would really find the best solution. And we like to be an ongoing resource for our clients. So kind of once you're part of our family, you're free to call us and ask questions as much as you'd like. And like I said, we are a full service AT company, so AAC is a big part of our business, but it's not all that we do. We work with people with many different disabilities, not just ALS. We do mobile device access, computer access, home access, environmental controls, so that's being able to turn lights on and off, AT for students with learning disabilities, job site accommodation, and telephone access. So it's really hard to just say what we do in one sentence, but basically if it's stuff for people with disabilities, we do it. Also just to know, all of my staff that are eligible are either in the process of being certified or are certified ATPs. ATP is Assistive Technology Professional. It's a certification that people who work with people, work directly with people with disabilities are able to get. And it just shows that you have taken that step of becoming certified and that you will practice in an ethical way and follow a standards of practice for your profession. So our service area is the entire state of Texas and beyond. We do work in Louisiana, Mississippi as well. We do have staff located in Austin, Houston, and Dallas. Our company in general has a passion for serving people with ALS, so that's definitely an area that we have focused on. And especially for people with ALS, we will travel. So there may be certain areas of the state that we do not go to all the time, like Amarillo probably would be an example of an area that we probably wouldn't go for other services, but for ALS, we definitely will do that. And I put there, have car, plane will travel, because depending on where you're going in Texas, a plane could actually be the quickest way to get there. So again, we're happy to travel to do that. So if we're just talking AAC, the equipment that we supply is called the Grid Pad, which is made by SmartBox. And they actually officially announced it today that they now have a 15-inch device. So it's now available in a 12-inch and a 15-inch configuration. And the Grid Pad is a ruggedized Windows-based communication device that can be accessed with any access method, touch, switch, head pointing, or eye gaze. I'll go into the specs a little bit more on the next slide, but it is a ruggedized system, so it's rated for a 1 meter drop, and it has built-in environmental controls for infrared and for Z-Wave, and you can pair your phone to make phone calls and text, and our software does work with Android and iOS for texting and for voice calls. And the software that it uses is called Grid 3. Another feature that our device has is it has a remote power button. So if you see the picture in the lower left, that's showing what that remote power button looks like. The blue circle is if someone is able to hit that with their thumb or a finger, it's a very light touch switch. But even if they're not able to hit it with their finger, there's the port on the top where we can plug in any ability switch where the user would be able to turn on and off their device independently. Next slide. So here's a picture of the GridPad 15. There's two main differences between the 12 and the 15 besides size, obviously. The biggest difference between the 12 and 15 is that the 15 has a rear-facing screen, and that will show whatever text is being typed. It will show it on the rear-facing screen. It does have potential to do additional things. They literally, again, they just officially announced this device. We've been knowing about it for a couple months now, and we just got our demos in like less than a month ago. So it is a full color screen. Right now, the only feature that they're using it for is for that rear-facing text, but over time, we've made a lot of suggestions, and they're always asking for what other things it could be used for. So we're really excited about how this rear-facing screen can be used in really creative ways. Another thing that they've done with the GridPad 15, which I'm assuming will happen with the 12 at some point, is the entire case, including the screen, is made of an antimicrobial material. So it's not a coating, it's actually, I wrote that, antimicrobial casting. So the material itself has antimicrobial features built into it, which is really, really cool. Next slide. So here's the specs for any of you that are really interested in the techie stuff. I'm just going to point out a couple things. So with the GridPad 12 with eye gaze, you get 10 hours of use. And with the GridPad 15, it's 9 hours of use. Now I'm going to say that's actually what it's rated for. I recently had a client that, long story short, she puts her device through the ringer, and she has a GridPad 12, and it was the device that she's been using has been in use for a while, and she's getting over 10 hours. So that's what it's rated for, and that's 10 hours of use. So most people are going to get more than a day's worth of use out of a battery charge. I think I've mentioned all those things. You can see the specs there. They actually just upgraded the 12 and the 15 to a 256 gigabyte hard drive, where before it was a 128. Next slide. Really, the secret sauce of the GridPad is Grid 3. So that software has really become an industry standard, and it's really an open platform. So if you go to the next slide, it really is an industry leader. It's being used now on many different AAC devices worldwide. And one of the biggest things is that they are constantly updating it. So an example is a number of months ago, Facebook upgraded their website, and just this week Smartbox updated their Facebook grid to work with the newest update of Facebook. So they're constantly making sure that things keep updated, and they are also very responsive to user input. If you want to learn more about Grid 3, I actually recently did a webinar on that, and the link is in here, and you'll be getting these slides after the presentation. So if you want to kind of get an overview of how the software works, you can watch that webinar. Next slide. So like I said, there's a Smartbox community. Even if you're not a user of the device, if you're just curious, you can join their Smartbox community. I know I learn a lot just by other questions that people ask. And I don't use a GridPad all day, every day. So things will come up, issues will come up, and you'll see people posting about it, and they'll put what the solution is. And so it's really a way for everyone to stay on top of what's going on with the system. The process for attaining, I know we kind of already touched on that, but I'm just going to mention kind of the way I think it through. Obviously, the need would be identified either by the patient or by the SLP of their clinic. And then a SLP does have to be involved. They are required to assist with the paperwork, whether that's through insurance or STAP. We are happy to provide demos to let you try it out. And we do have loaners as well that if you wanted to give it a try and see how it works for you. Once that whole process is complete, the funding would be approved, and then we would deliver the equipment. So that's a real top level overview. And we are available for ongoing tech support. We believe that the equipment delivery is the beginning of our relationship. We take implementation very seriously. We really feel like we partner with our clients to make the implementation as successful as possible. And we personally deliver and install mounts for all of our systems. And our preference is always to be in person. You know, we're living in this situation right now, but you know, we're happy to come to the home if you're okay with us doing that. But we can do remote editing of pages. I have a couple clients that, you know, we've worked on things and then they play with it for a little while and they're like, oh, can you just move this button over there? Or can you add these couple more buttons? That can be easily done through remote editing. And we can also do remoting in where we're on the phone at the same time and can go through things. So that's just a quick overview. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to take them. Or if Jimmy, if you have anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, you know, one of the benefits of the GridPad and the Grid software is that it works with every available camera on the market. So we typically will use one of the manufacturer's cameras because we have a lot of success with it, but every camera has different strengths and different weaknesses. And so if we find a camera not working very well for a client, we will use one of our secondary or third options to see if it provides a better result. I mean, the biggest thing that I always focus on with the ALS community and with eye gaze is, you know, you're controlling a computer with your eyes, and as complicated as it is, the technology has come so far that it is significantly easier for people to be successful. And our goal is that our users can basically use every feature that they want. All of the features within the device are kind of like a la carte. And some people literally just want a keyboard to be able to tell their caregiver that it's too hot in the room. But we have other people that want to be on the web all day, or, you know, text messaging is their most important thing, or email. We have people that maintain their ability to work because they can do anything on this GridPad with their eyes that you can do with a mouse. You may have to take a maybe slower than it was when you used a mouse and a keyboard. But I mean, we have people that are basically typing 35 to 40 words a minute with their eyes after they've really gone through the implementation process of learning how to manipulate the system with eye gaze. And the other thing is, you know, ALS, as we all know, is a progressive disease. And what works for you right now, 6 months from now, may not be working. And we want to be part of the solution ongoing. And so, you know, with the position sensitivity that eye gaze has, you know, having someone being able to come back to your house and help you in the situation in which you're using it to determine what might be causing the problems. I feel like that's the biggest thing that we make our priority is we want to, the way I always sum it up is if it's ever not meeting your expectations, I need to know about it because I can probably fix it. And if I don't know it's broken, then I don't know that you need help for me to fix it. So eye gaze is much more of an art than it is a science. And every user has a optimal position, and that optimal position can change over time. Based on your new seating, based on you're going to go from where you spend a lot of time in a lazy boy versus now you're going to spend a lot of time in your wheelchair, or you want to spend a lot of time in the bed. All of these require a finesse that, you know, it's hard to teach. And if you're only doing it a little bit of the time, it's something that you need someone in your house to really help troubleshoot. So, you know, Oh, I just saw a
So,
question.
Steve, if you can advance the slide, because the last slide has all of our contact information on it, but someone said, do you have to be techie to become proficient?
No.
So the answer to that is no. That's what's so great about Grid, and I would really recommend, if you haven't watched that, to go back and watch the webinar that I did. I mean, I did kind of focus on some of the fancier things that you can do with Grid, but the point is we can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. For example, I'm just going to use the Ring doorbell as an example. So to access a Ring doorbell on your computer, you can technically do that, but someone rings your doorbell, if you don't have things set up and you're just doing it kind of the normal way, it could take you, a solid 2 minutes just to get to the video. But with Grid, I could make a button where you hit one button and it opens up the app, hits the right buttons, and then you're seeing who's at your door. And now, you're not going to catch a UPS guy because he's already down the street, but a neighbor might stay there for 30 seconds to be able to see who's at the door. So the answer is no, you don't have to be techie. You do have to be willing to learn some new technology, but as long as you're willing to learn, we will work with you to make it work for you. So it says, how does it compare with iGaze Edge? So iGaze Edge is a product made by LC Technologies. You can actually use their camera on a Grid pad, but they have their own system that they have developed. Does Grid 3 work on a standard laptop? Yes, it does. So Grid 3 is Windows-based software. And if you go on the company's website, they'll tell you what the minimum specifications are. It's actually not very high. So most Windows computers made today, you'd be able to run on it. And actually, if you get a Grid pad, you get a second activation of the software. So if you, there's many different reasons why we would want to utilize that, but you do get a free second activation. So you can have the software running on your Grid pad and you can have it running on another computer. Also, there's a 60-day free trial that anyone can go online. The website is thinksmartbox.com. I'll put that in the chat in a second. You can download a 60-day free trial. It's full featured version. I don't necessarily like clients to do that. I mean, if you want to, you can, but there's so much customization that we do to the system. We have a user that we have kind of developed over time to really make it a little bit easier, but if you want to do it, go for it. Which is better for environmental controls, Google or Alexa? That's a little bit of a loaded question. I'm going to answer the question you asked. In my opinion, Alexa is better at this point. She has more integrations with more devices. They're kind of like Android and Apple, where one offers it and the other one adds that other functionality. So they're similar, but I would say Alexa will technically today work with more options. In a perfect world, my preference, I mean, we have set up people where they're using their communication device to operate Alexa, and that is a good option in a lot of situations. Whenever possible, I like to have a direct connection. So with using your communication device, you're hitting a button, it's speaking it out loud, it's going through the air to your Alexa device, wherever that is, and making something happen. So there's a lot of steps that something can get lost in translation. She doesn't like some voices over others. The acoustics of the room make a difference. So it's good in a pinch. Actually, I recently discovered there has been a Windows Alexa app for a while, but they actually just added some new functionality where you can operate your smart devices through the Alexa app on Windows, which is a more direct way of operating things. So if you're really wanting to know more about environmental controls, feel free to contact me and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. In general, what's happening in the last couple of years, Google has been kind of locking down their environment a little bit more for security purposes. So they just don't have quite as many integrations as Alexa does. But like I said, it's kind of like Android and iOS, they kind of are fighting to get that, to have the most integrations. And honestly, I haven't. I own an Alexa, and that's what I use all day. So I'm very familiar with it. But I do know that Google can do most of the things that Alexa can do. But I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not sure if there's a way on the computer to access the Google environment. I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I know that you can for Alexa.
All right, Antoinette, thank you. Thank you, Jimmy, as well. I don't see any more questions or comments in the chat box, but feel free. We do have another minute or two that we certainly want to address everybody's questions and comments. And if you're like me and think of things afterwards, you can still reach out to us and we'll make sure that we get you the answer that you need. Okay, I was saying we had one more comment in there. Jerry says we have Google Home on the phone.
So what's happening is that a lot of these things have mobile device apps, but not Windows apps. And the communication devices are Windows-based devices. So to work best with eye gaze, there needs to be a Windows app, which there may be for Google. I just have never looked for it.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments in the chat box that our experts can answer today? We've had, we're always privileged to have such wonderful community partners and support in our ALS Texas community. And today we got to hear from 2 different groups and 4 or 5 different individuals. So this has been wonderful. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, this presentation has been recorded, so we will get this out to you, the recording out to you, and you can always find recorded presentations as well as upcoming presentations on our ALS Texas website. We are updating that daily or as soon as we get new events planned. So please be sure and check out all of our virtual presentations and workshops, including our connection groups throughout the state for both those living with ALS and their loved ones and caregivers. 2 that we have coming up in the real near future. On September 18th at noon is Maintaining Nutrition in ALS. And on September 19th, which is a Saturday at 10:30 a.m., we have a very special Family Talks, special edition. We generally, for those of you that may not know, we have a monthly Family Talks for different age groups of children and young adults, youth, and children that are involved in the ALS experience. On September 19th, we will hear from Jyoti Gupta, who is 17 years old, and also meet her family and share in their experience as we all connect and share common feelings and just things that go along with that journey. So you'll want to tune in to that. Again, thank you. We so appreciate y'all taking time out. We had over 40 people throughout the state join today. So thank you. We hope that you feel more informed and more empowered, and let us know if there's anything else all that you need. All right, have a great rest of your day, everyone.